Hey, thanks for canceling that, Jeff. I can sleep in an extra 10 minutes.
10 more minutes? Is that it?
Or I can go to bed 10 minutes later on
Leave that lucky.
Tuesday night then?
I don't know. It worked out good for me too. I have a fundraising seminar that I gotta go to. So I was gonna be gone that day anyway.
I believe I have.
I think so much of it is
I have
the December meeting.
All right. Somebody should, light reading.
Yeah.
I will.
It's a challenge.
We'll take it.
I didn't complain at all when I saw that.
Don't you feel like information?
Because you said the same thing. Well, in your case, you can do something different for an extra. Yeah.
What's wrong?
Can't get that to open.
Yeah. You can't read
It's your finger that's
My finger.
Yeah.
Poking, rubbing, and stabbing.
That's it. Most
Out of the
everything's
mail.
email now. So yeah,
Thank you, Diane.
You're
I read
welcome.
the stuff I can, highlight
A couple of weeks ago, on one of those Sunday afternoons, like Saturday, I swear the whole forest looked like that
Look
shirt.
like that. I know. It's gorgeous.
It was. You could, when I find, go up on top of, I don't know if you've been up, like where the statue or where the German.
I haven't.
You go up the top, which I did that day, you see like the whole social valley.
No, and then I was like, oh my gosh, they got the whole council on me going.
Ooh, we're gonna have to.
Yeah.
2 minutes.
Yeah.
Should we get one of those clocks up there that counts it down from?
Yeah.
No, I'm good.
Or something?
Oh.
the music from
Jeopardy?
48 hours.
Oh.
Well, I thought you were going to say like Monty Python or something.
We should have like walk-up music for you all.
Yeah, my God.
Right?
Like 30 seconds in, and then we can play some music and you can all file in, you know.
Like they do for the wrestling matches.
That's
That's right. There's some council meetings that have been like that.
We can get the smoke and.
Dim the lights. Yeah, that'd be funny.
We could redo the lighting in here, just so everybody has their own
Then they
little
would
spot.
all
you know.
assign to be on the council,
Yeah, right?
you know? All right.
They're probably hearing the same
Good evening, everybody. We will start the City of Tracy Council meeting for October 24th. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I see that we have some changes to our agenda.
Yes, Mayor, we have a subtraction and an addition. The employee of the quarter couldn't be here tonight, and so that's a subtraction. And under new business, we added a resolution on a liquor license. That's old. Yes, that's right. Sorry, I got distracted for a second because I have last week's agenda in front of me along with the current one, and so I got distracted. But those are the two items that are changing.
Okay, with those changes,
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
first and second, any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Is there somebody from the public that would like to talk about something that is not on the agenda? That'd be you, Betty.
Yeah.
Come on up, Betty.
Oh, start, okay. I'm Betty Payne, and I've been here before. My neighbors have 2 cars. They pin my car in all the time. I have to stop appointments. They block my garbage can. I can't get it picked up. Things are so bad, I had to put my house up for sale. I need to know where to go for help, because it might take a year before I sell it. I need help.
This is, Betty's been here before. In fact, Shane and I went out to Betty's house, as a matter of fact. The area that she's talking about is a public street in front of her house. And so if it's a public street, the public can park there. And I wish we could do more about that, but ultimately, the place in front of her street is in front of her house is a public street. And there's no regulations against people parking on a public street, no matter where it is.
So what options would she have, though, as far as for her garbage?
There is an alley back there. I believe that there's an option for alley pickup. It costs a little bit more. This is the first time I've heard about the garbage. In the past, when we have spoken to her, it's been about, her neighbors parking in front of her house and not being able to get into it and things like that. Now, Ms. Payne also has a garage in the back in an alley and a sidewalk that goes up through the back as well, including parking in the rear. And so if it's, that's an option for her as well, I think potentially. But from a garbage standpoint, I hadn't heard that there was anything in particular that's a new piece of information for me.
Is there anything like Chief Licky could do to visit with them, or that's not
Chief
an
Licky's
option?
done that, and Shane and I have done that as well. And this is obviously a dispute between a couple of neighbors, but and it's unfortunate that people are parking in front of other people's houses, but they're legally allowed to do that. There's literally nothing we can do to keep people from parking in front of her house.
Since the garbage is a new issue that had not been brought up in the past, could that be addressed just out of common courtesy?
Yeah.
I mean, people need their
Well,
garbage picked up.
I do understand that, and I suppose that's kind of a new wrinkle that we could look at. But that's, like I said, that's new information for us tonight.
Is there a sidewalk going across the boulevard to the street?
There is a sidewalk going across the boulevard to the street, but
We have no regulations about blocking someone's.
no, we do not have any regulations like that, and that's technically not her sidewalk, that's in the right-of-way. That's
Right,
actually
right.
technically the city's right-of-way. These are public streets, public sidewalks. I would encourage Ms. Payne to communicate with her neighbor.
Has she done that?
I can't talk to her. She swears and these are the things I have.
Right, yeah, there's
It's up to the police to do
what
this.
she's saying, and I think this is accurate, is that they don't get along. And I can't make people get along. There's also no law against being rude either. And so this is something that we have attempted to, I know Chief Lichty has been out there, Shane and I have been out there. There aren't any laws broken at all here.
So it's not a thing to block the sidewalk?
No, it's not. There's no law against parking a car in front of a house, even if there is a sidewalk going up to it.
So what do they say when you guys go out there and talk to them?
Who's they?
The neighbors.
We haven't talked to the neighbors. We've just talked to Miss Payne. That's it.
Okay.
So
Jason, have you talked to the neighbors?
Multiple times.
And how is that going?
Jason, you're going to talk. Come up here.
So, there's a long history with this, but what it comes down to is Betty likes to park in front of her house so that her trunk lid's right where she can line up with her sidewalk so she can get her groceries out of her trunk and walk up her sidewalk. If she parks how she likes to, which is fine, it's street legal, the lot lines are lined up so small right there, and Betty's front property is so small, it's only about the length of her car. Well, then the neighbor likes to park so that she can straddle the sidewalk so she can get her kids out of the car on the sidewalk, which blocks half of, so then she doesn't line up see what I mean? The vehicle lengths don't line up with the sidewalks and the property lines, and then they get into a heated discussion about that. So there have been a couple times where we have had to make the neighbors move their cars because they parked too close to each other, where she couldn't get out. There's been other times where she's claimed she couldn't get out where we thought there was enough property or enough room there to move, so.
Did you discuss the garbage can issue with the neighbors?
No, it hasn't been brought up.
We'll look into the garbage can issue, but I cannot stress enough, there is nothing illegal going on here. There's nothing we can do. We cannot just make people be nice. You know, that is not a law.
I was just hoping the sidewalk thing was, because
Yep.
we were always told that you're not supposed to park in your driveway blocking the sidewalk. So why can't we walk a sidewalk that direction, but it's okay
Technically,
to
the
block
sidewalk
it
is
this
in our
way?
right-of-way. It's technically in the boulevard right-of-way. It's not it's a public sidewalk. It's not a personal sidewalk.
Betty, do you not
Driveways
use
are
your
personal
garage?
driveways.
What? You use your garage. I do, but since I have to move, it's full of boxes and furniture.
Okay.
So
They could park in the back too. They have cement slab.
Well,
This-
there isn't going to be much we can do about the parking, Betty. We're trying to figure out your issue with garbage.
Well, I feel they can park 2 feet away from me so I can get my car out. Why pin me in? They're about four cars till they hit the corner, and that's their property.
Okay,
The city isn't, but the land they have lots of room to park. They don't have to pin me in.
But our hands are tied. They're not breaking the law. They're breaking maybe being a kind neighbor and being gracious, but it's not a law that we can enforce.
How do
We're
I get my
trying to
car out? I
help.
have a doctor's appointment. How do I get my car out? They don't answer the door.
Yeah, she says that they park too close to her car, so she can't even get out. And
I
you
can't.
said on occasion that's happened.
And we've answered those calls.
yeah,
It just happened
I-
last Tuesday.
we'll take a look at the garbage issue.
It
I
happens all
would
the time.
suggest we,
I've had to cancel doctor's appointments and everything because I can't get my car out. They won't answer the door.
During snow removal, do these cars go back by the garage?
yes, if it was out there during snow removal, that would be a violation, yes, absolutely. Yep.
Okay, they'll check into the garbage.
What? I can't hear
You
you.
gotta speak up, lady.
They'll check into the garbage issue, but for the rest of that, our hands are tied right now, so we're gonna have to move on. Sorry.
It's an unfortunate situation. You wish you could do more, and you wish people, can't get along. It's terrible. I mean, it's just unfortunately, we can only enforce the laws, and that's it.
I guess Jason, if you can try to address the whole garbage issue, or you, whoever.
Well, let's try. Let me try to figure that out. I don't know what the circumstance is on the garbage because that's brand new, and so we'll look into that specifically.
Okay. Davey, we're ready for you.
I'll make a motion to approve the October 10th council minutes and the October 3rd CCWG minutes, approve the municipal accounts payable without breakthrough beverage, approve municipal accounts receivable, and approve the on-sale and Sunday liquor license for the Old Bank Restaurant and Bar as long as all fees are paid.
I'll second that.
First and second, any discussion?
I just want to add one thing, just for clarification on that. This is just a fee for December, and that's it because it's changing hands because it used to be Bonnie and Clyde's, and so the fees are paid, but it's just a partial fee, and then you'll come back and see them again for next year's.
Yep.
Okay, any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Tiggs,
Aye.
Schmidt,
Yes.
Landay,
Aye.
Koopman,
Yes.
Dobson,
Yes.
Shones,
Aye.
Mayor Corman.
Aye.
I'll make a motion to approve municipal accounts payable for breakthrough beverage.
I'll second that.
First and second on that too. Any other discussion for that? Roll call, please.
Landay,
Aye.
Koopman,
Yes.
Shones,
Aye.
Dobson,
Yes.
Schmidt,
Yes.
Mayor Corman. Aye. Does anybody have anything for mayor council communication? All right.
Do we have a copy of what the ballot is going to look like?
We can get you, yeah,
Okay.
there's one right outside
I
there.
just
Yeah.
have some questions as to what that is going to look like.
There are questions about how the write-in piece looks like? Is that what?
Well, I mean, is like underneath, is there rewriting lines?
Oh, that's a good question. And this is a good thing to point out, because somebody asked me this question earlier in the week anyway. Gosh, we didn't know that there were write-ins. Well, by law, we're required to put a write-in line for every office. That's always been the case.
Okay.
And as long as the law is that way, it will always be the case. For a vote for three situation like you have, with the council, you're going to have 3 spaces in there, so you could write 3 different names in there if you wanted to. Then if you didn't want to vote for the people that were already there, because you can vote for 3.
Okay.
For the case of the mayor and for the partial term, there'll just be 1 write-in in there, because you can only vote for 1. So the number of write-ins is always going to match. The write-in is always going to be there, and the number of write-ins is going to match the number of votes that you can cast for that particular election. And just to remind people that you can write whatever you want in there, Mickey Mouse or whatever, but ultimately the only votes that are going to be counted are the people that have filed to have their votes counted, so that they kind of be your official certified write-in candidates. And we've had a few of those for the offices, and you have until the 1st of November? November 1st in order to do that if you wish to have your votes counted.
Very good.
Sure.
Good question. Okay, should we move on to staff reports? Tamara, you want to go?
Sometime you're gonna make her go last.
There's that favoritism again.
First in line, y'all got to sit right there and first in lines. I don't have to pick.
September sales were up over our projected goal, like 4,000 or 5,000 or something. I kind of think it has to do with Boxcar Brew, which also in turn is why our beer sales are actually up. Our beer purchases, I should say, are actually up. And because of the fact that the wholesalers did a price increase and we did some buying ahead of time before the prices went up. We did donated the money to the fire department during their chili feed for when we did the fire trucks out there with the root beer floats, and we had a box on the counter, and then we did a little extra when people bought during the fire department or during the fire truck time. If they bought Coors Light at that time, we did a little extra kick into for donations. So went to a marketing seminar that the radio put on that I thought was very good. And also I signed us up they had a few spots to sign up to meet or talk with the gentleman that did the seminar about some additional marketing or his expertise or pointers on what we should do. So I'm thinking anytime we can get some free advice, why not take it? Still trying to keep our purchases down, going to the end of the year for the cash flow, for our cash flow into the account. And then MMBA is doing regional meetings again now that the COVID thing is over, so we'll be attending one of those on November 2nd. Anybody else have any other questions or comments?
Are you fully staffed out there?
No, not necessarily. That's always an ongoing issue. But, so hoping to look into that again. Anybody else?
Is it true, are less people drinking beer and more people drinking the seltzers and so forth?
Beer is always going to still be the number one, but seltzers have definitely got a big part of that. But seltzers definitely have gotten a big part of that whole thing. And, you know, beer sales are like, you know, summertime is when beer sales are, and seltzer sales are higher than typical. And now it's starting to taper down because of the weather, unfortunately.
As far as marketing, or what, in the past, you've had some wine tasting events and so forth, and some of those things coming up around as we get closer to the holidays.
We do actually. We have a tasting event going on November, what is it? Like the Thursday before. We'll talk about that later. But yeah, so we have Bra Brothers, and then we'll do a whole big thing with Beer Brew and Bra Brothers, and then some wines and some, it's like right before Thanksgiving, like the Thursday before or something like that. Week before.
So the boxcar brew has been popular, evidently.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the sales have tapered off. You know what, I wrote that down today. So in October, we have sold, I want to say like 14 6-packs and 12 4-packs or something, 15 4-packs, something to that effect. I mean, it definitely was bigger in September. You know, so we had to keep trying to keep it out there in front of people. That's one thing that, like we have the gal that's helping do the marketing thing, and that's one thing on her plate is how we're going to try to boost that through Facebook, like out of our area kind of a thing. So I forgot we're working with her too, and still working with her on that whole thing. But
So is it the novelty of the name, or having your own brew, or does it actually taste really good, or what comments are you getting?
Well, you should buy a 6-pack, Seth, and test it out.
I have to confess I haven't, you know. I'll have to do that.
it's a light lager. You need to all buy Boxcar Brew because we have the next one in our minds if this one, once this one pans out.
It'd be great Christmas presents for people that aren't from here, you know? I mean, that aren't here, that are.
And it's just the cutest bottle.
All right.
Anybody else have anything for Tam? Thank you, ma'am.
Thanks, Tam.
Dad, do you want to go?
Okay, so this week we're starting something kind of new called Creative Zone. And just to give you some background about how this started, back when we had our teen art exhibition, Dana Miller, who teaches art at the high school, and I were talking about how there aren't very many art opportunities for, you know, your more creative students in school. And so we started talking about how we might be able to do something at the library to kind of fill that need. Obviously, kids and teens especially need that creative outlet for their mental health, basically. So we are going to try this after school on Wednesdays, but, you know, it's not just for teens. All ages are welcome to attend, 12 and up. And it's just a time for people who, if you like to paint or you'd like to draw, just bring your equipment in. If you like to write, so anything. Be hard to do woodworking and, you know, some of those things. But, you know, people who like to create things.
Can they bring their knitting and?
Yes, please do. And, you know, and the thought is that maybe it'll spark interest in some other people who see that taking place and think, oh, I'm kind of interested in that. You can talk to that person about it and, you know, maybe have some mentorships. It would be really cool. So I'm sure it'll take us a little while to get it started up, you know, and get some people coming, but we'll keep it going through the winter and see what happens. I just wanted to highlight also we have a movie night at the library on Friday, and we'll be doing a little Halloween Addams Family movie. And then on November 6th, we are hosting Doug Oman. He's a photographer and speaker from Minnesota, and he's going to be doing a presentation on the New Deal in Minnesota. And the reason we chose that particular program of his was because of the City Hall, you know, just being found eligible for the National Register. We thought that would be an interesting program. And the Wheels Across the Prairie Museum is co-hosting that with us. and we'll be serving some refreshments that evening for a free will donation. So come on out and enjoy Doug. He's really great. We've had him here before. Any other questions? Or any questions?
I think that crafter thing is just a cool idea.
Yeah, I hope it takes off. I really hope we get some people
Sweet
to...
little ladies down there knitting and they can teach the younger people
Yeah,
how to do that.
why not?
So you'll use the lower level space? For
Yes.
that then?
Yep.
How does that work out with, I know the second level was kind of meant as a youth area. Is that working out all right then?
Yeah, I
As
mean,
intended?
oh, absolutely. We get a lot of kids who go up there, you know, after, more so in the summer, of course, but after school, definitely we get some kids who go up there. And it's just a nice place to hang out where it's safe and, you know, relatively quiet. And they can use the computers or just sit and talk. You know, everybody's got their own device now, so they do their own thing.
Is the day coming when we're going to have fewer computer terminals?
We actually already do have fewer computer terminals than we used to. We got a donation of some computers about a year ago, I want to say. And, you know, it just wasn't feasible to replace all of them, replace all 6 on the main floor, so we just did half of them, and that's proven to be enough. You know, with COVID, the computer numbers just really went down, and it's my understanding, I reported that on our state annual report, and someone from State Library Services asked me about it. You know, we noticed that this was a change, and so when I explained that to her, she said, you know, we weren't the only library who had that same thought process and reduction in computers.
The world keeps changing.
Yep.
You got to keep changing with it.
That's right.
Anybody else for Val? Thanks, Val.
Thank you.
Thank you, Val.
Jason, you want to go?
Good evening. I didn't get a report out to you. We had 111 calls in September of this year compared to 123 from the year before, which I looked to see what the difference was, and 9 of those were traffic stops, so it wasn't, calls were pretty similar. Last month, Officer Hansen attended EVOC training, which is a mandated training, and then I got him into a crime prevention class that was up at Cragen's. It was 2 days of current trends for keeping up with crime prevention stuff. So he attended those classes also. Other than that, Officer Erickson's teaching truth about drugs. I've been into the schools and I've spoke to all the teachers and paras and elementary school teachers, high school teachers, and staff on personal safety stuff for dealing or talking with personal safety in schools. And I've also, last Friday I did, or a week ago last Friday I did character with the kids on the day that they were, their theme was respect. And so I did 20 minutes with each fourth and fifth grade class. So it was entertaining. Lots of questions. So that's all I have for you.
Yeah, I've heard good things about the elementary drug awareness program. Do we do anything out at the high school specifically? Talked have PE classes or any health classes or occasionally or anything like that?
No, we haven't. Our target age has been 6th grade, so.
So what you meant, the contacts at the high school has been with staff?
With staff.
Yeah, okay.
So they do drug awareness classes at the grade school, but not at the high school?
Yes.
Why?
Because of the age levels. Basically, you need to teach them at a younger age, and they figure by the time that they've gotten to high school, they've already had that peer pressure.
I just thought you do both.
Hasn't been proposed to me from the school, but yeah.
Yeah, I got nothing.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Well, you're not in line. Shane's next.
He's gotta be up until the last thing.
You want to show favoritism?
We know you do. Couple things that I wanted to make sure that I get across to everybody was the closing for the Broad Acres lot that we just sold will be, that's all signed and is at the closing office, so that we'll be closing on that on this Friday. And then the closing for O'Brien Court just got scheduled for the week of November 28th through December 2nd. It's whatever is going to be the easiest date for him to get down here, the new owner to get down here. So that closing will be that last week of November, but no later than December 1st. There was a couple things that we needed to do. I think I had mentioned those before. Out there, there was some roof problems out there, and then also there was a couple safety items that we had to take care of, but nothing that was too major out there. It was one of them was as simple as getting some new and some tightening of some of the automatic door closers out there. So in a facility like that, we were told that they're supposed to have those on there, and we didn't have them on some of them were disconnected. So we're connecting all those now, and that was a part of our deal. So
That been expensive?
it wasn't actually too bad to buy. And actually, to buy brand new ones for every one of them was $22 a door, $22.10. But there was a lot of them there that just needed to be tightened. And there was some of them that needed to be replaced, and they were stripped.
The rough issues taken care of?
No, they have not yet.
Okay.
No. He told me it would take them a good 4 to 6 weeks to get out there. It was actually the owner of the company that actually come out and give the estimate and everything, because they're so short-handed, just like everybody else. So we're pretty excited about not having that coming up anymore. We have new Orchard Lane tenants that will be moving in on officially December 1st. I think I told you that the last time a year ago when we had the new tenant move in, it was a big pain to move somebody in at the same time that we're trying to clean and paint and put in new carpet, and I'm not going to go through that again. So it's better that we just wait a month and then let them move on their pace. And so they will be in officially on December 1st, but they'll probably start moving some of. They've already signed the lease and everything, and we're going to get everything transferred into their name. Finishing the paperwork for the new restaurant, the old bank, so the paperwork for the loan that the EDA gave them. So that's getting taken care of actually at the end of this week also. And we are starting the new process for the Small Cities Grant for the commercial and residential. So that's some of the things that are starting. And Eric and I actually, last week we had a couple more leads, a couple more, too early to start talking about them, but a couple of housing potential projects that we have.
So O'Brien Court or Orchard Lane is 100% occupied then?
Yeah, it is. Yes, it is. It'll just be 1 month out of this year. There won't be.
Right, and we still have a solid waiting.
13. Yeah. So there was on this particular one, there was 2 people that were at the top of the list. I kind of keep the list separate for 2-bedroom and 3-bedroom, depending on what you want. And the person that was up on the top didn't want the 3-bedroom. They wanted a 2-bedroom, which is fine. So I didn't move that person down for that particular reason. So then the next 2-bedroom that'll open up, it'll be gone right away.
As I recall, the EDA does have enough land on the end of Orchard Lane if at some time they decided that wanted to make another fourplex. There isn't land there.
Yes, there is plenty of land out there, and to the and also to the south also.
Is there any thoughts of doing something?
There's the possibility right now, it's really expensive. It'd be tough to cash flow something like that. I mean, we'd be lucky to break even, and that's if we went at $1,500-$1,600 for a month rent. But it can be done. Getting someone to build them right now would be tough also. On a couple other personal projects, I haven't been able to get somebody to even look at anything right now.
It's amazing, isn't it, what COVID did?
That, and then the lack of those particular occupations is
I think the spring storms didn't help us either.
could be trouble, yeah. Yep.
A bunch of problems. Everybody's busy right now, just
Yep.
fixing up. what got
Yep.
damaged.
There's but it's good for we have a few contractors here in town that they're busy all the way, they're booked out all the way for a year. So they got no issues for a year, they got nothing, I mean, they don't have to take on any new jobs, so.
Jeff, I know the EDA from time to time has looked into the possibility of developing housing in the downtown area, maybe in some existing buildings. Would we need to change the zoning then of the downtown?
Some of the zoning would need to be changed on that. Right now, it's the rules or whatever would be that there has to be a business in the bottom, and then you can have living quarters at the top. But it's a simple zoning change. And we haven't got word back from Southwest, or the Housing Partnership, about the meetings that we had with them. It was the first week in September, I think, that we had the meeting with them. But we have
something like that.
Yeah, they haven't got back to us yet. They were putting together a potential plan for us.
Good.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hopefully everybody had a chance to read my report. It wasn't too lengthy, so. I guess I'd like to just let the public and everyone know here that on what's going on with projects. So we got an update with ISG today as far as where things are at. Mainly 3A2 is shut down until spring. So you won't see anything happening there. There may be some valve boxes that could be adjusted before winter here, but Phase 3A Center Street project, that's, I think Eric sent an email out to the council on that, but it's been approved by the agencies and out for the bid notices out in the paper here last week already. So that's moving forward. I think the 10th of November, I think, is the bid opening date. So. As far as the pond decommissioning, if anyone's been out there, you see they got spreaders going, and things are happening now here since Thursday last week they started, so hopefully that gets done. Weather's been good for them, so I guess you have any questions on anything else?
Where are they bringing the fill in from?
Fill. For the pond? It's out there already.
Oh, that's right. They used what was got it.
Yep.
Remember now. Yep.
The same person that's doing the spreading is doing the leveling?
Yep.
The same contractor? or-
Yep, it's all Rachel Contracting. The only thing they have is a subcontracted biosolids operator for that portion of it, but they're doing all the spreading work, so you just kind of keeping track of what's going down and what can go down in each field, so as far as the rates.
Good to get that behind us.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Shane, your item about removing the dock at Swift Lake just kind of reminded me that, I've observed a lot of people, or did this last summer, people using that dock and fishing. And I just wondered, is there any space or to bring a second dock out there at some point? Ever thought about that, or would any grants be available from the DNR or something to apply for on something like that?
Potentially, we'd have to clear some more
Shoreline.
brush and shoreline to make that happen, but say it's a possibility. There's obviously a cost associated with it. The concern is trying to, anything you do, I don't know when that dock was put in, probably the early 90s. I don't know if ADA wasn't as much of a thing back then, but you know, that would have to be addressed in updates you do. You know, do something different with the shore and the sidewalk, and I'm not sure what the DNR would allow as far as that portion of it goes, but you know, if we have to bring the dock maybe up on shore more, or you know, if the landing has to go out further, but to try to get the slope right.
Just a thought. I was just pleased so many people have been using that dock.
Yeah, I've seen 2 to 4 people out there at least once a week.
Yeah.
So a little interesting getting it out last week, but
It sank?
it didn't sink, but it was a little higher than normal because the water was so low.
Is this as low as that water's been in there?
It's the lake's as low as I've ever seen it.
Yeah.
All the lakes are.
Yeah. And good to see that AWOC system about ready to go operational then.
It's ready, just waiting for the FAA to come out and give their blessings on it and actually officially put it into service. So once that goes into service, then the other one can be removed. But everything's intact, everything's set up. It just, they need to be the last one to power it up and then shut the other one down. So it sounds like it's all happened in one day. It's just a matter of getting the transition.
Could you just refresh our memories on why the new one is so much better than the old one?
So the problem is with the new one's location, one is age. You know, infrastructure is probably, and it's running on MS-DOS, so it's probably 80s, late 80s. And then the other factor is it's really close to the buildings, which is why it's as far as away as the new one is, so much further away. And then there's crop setbacks, and all that affects the humidity, the wind, and a little bit maybe on the temperature even. So that's kind of important for aircraft to have some accuracy there. So.
Was there on that water main break, was there any warranty or anything with that? Because wasn't that done when the street was done or not?
1960.
Oh, 60. Okay.
So it was just north of where the project ended. So
okay.
And that pipe actually goes under the highway. So just hope it doesn't break there.
Nothing too serious, just deep.
No, and we've been in that location before, just like 3 feet over. So we ended up cutting that section off that we fixed before, and then the new section that broke and put a whole new piece underneath that storm sewer. So I'm thinking that storm sewer, being that close to it, it's probably shifting different, maybe causing some of the issues. So that's all plastic now underneath there. So.
Well, also, Shane, in regarding the removal of the garden hydrant by the Nels Park shelter, is there still water of some sort available there?
There's water on the back of the bathhouse there, and then there's water to the east of there by the power pole. So there's 2 other spigots on that part, and the one was only like, say, 20 feet away from the bathhouse. So we just we pulled that out. It's been a problem more than it's been, and I know as far as I remember, I don't ever remember a hose being hooked to that one. So we had some kids, a couple instances where it was turned on and it left a big sinkhole there, flooding. So, and then it's unmetered water too. So loss that we can't track.
A good idea.
Anything else? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Shane.
Shane.
Did you have something you wanted to share?
Yeah, I'll just add a few things. You have my report, but I just want to talk about a few things that are not on the report specifically. We did, I sent you an email, but just to let the public know, we have hired an additional person to help with the front office. She starts on Monday. That doesn't mean that we'll be able to resume regular hours on Monday because she still has to be trained and, because we're talking about driver's licenses and tabs and things like that, she has to go through a bunch of training and then be kind of authorized, given the blessing of the state to be able to do those kinds of things. And so it's going to be a few weeks probably before that's the case, but there's some light at the end of the tunnel anyway, for what it's worth. Still trying to hire a finance director position for the office. It's a technical position. It's, we've interviewed several people. One we offered, turned it down. Some other people didn't work out, and we're just going to have to keep at it. I don't think that we want to hire someone who's not qualified for the job, and unfortunately that's just kind of the way these things go. But we're getting better, and having an additional person will help too, because that'll free me up to do some other stuff, since I've been doing accounts payable in addition to the other things. So just, I thought that was good news, and I wanted to share that with you. Two other things. One is that you might remember from some time ago, there's been some kind of ongoing discussions with the county about the use of their ARPA funds and potentially using it on an industrial park area, for us to kind of expand some of that infrastructure out there. And we got a proposal on, looking at kind of creating a plan for how that would work. I think it probably makes sense to do that, just because I think that it'll help us in kind of explaining to the county what it is that we want, and also kind of creating a vision for the entire area out there. Haven't figured out yet how to pay for that, but ultimately that'll be a discussion for the future. I just want to make you aware that there may be some discussions about this coming up. But I will tell you that the draft of the comprehensive plan talks about the expansion of industrial land as really important. Jeff is actually going up to talk to some potential industrial developers at SWIFT a little bit later in the week, and we don't have developable lots to be able to show people and sell people. They're not gonna come here, and so this is kind of part of setting us up for how we can attract this kind of development into the future. So more discussions to come, and I know the EDA board is going to discuss it too, but I just wanted to kind of bring you a little bit into the loop of some things so you can think about it. The other thing, and I don't know if Seth wants to comment on it or not, but the park board is kind of working on an agenda for next year in terms of what they're interested in. One of the things that we're talking about is what the DNR grant is going to look like, and how can we make that even better to try to be more competitive, and talking about what the playground equipment might look like is an important piece of that. I've got a Zoom meeting a little bit later in the week to talk to one of the playground companies a little bit about that, and we'll bring them into the park board to discuss it. But we're planning on applying for that grant. That cycle, as you remember, is in March, but that's not that far away at this point. So we're kind of getting ahead of that. So those are the things that are not on the list. This work plan list, my plan is that there'll be a new city council kind of in a 2-year cycle after this year, and then I think it would make sense to kind of take the things that we've accomplished. You think of this as a 2021, 2022 kind of work plan. Say, okay, well, we've knocked a lot of the stuff off the list. What does 2023, 2024 look like? And kind of create a new work plan, a new set of goals and priorities with that next council when that next council is seated in the beginning of the year. And so that's kind of my thought in terms of how we do that strategic planning. And I'll be focused really on the budget and completing that. And that's kind of trying to get some people hired, and that's kind of where my priorities are at the moment. Be happy to answer any questions that anyone might have.
I'm Glad to hear that about the industrial park. That's
Yep.
really, really important for the future of this town, so.
I think so, yeah. I mean, I think that if you think about, the kinds of things that we need in our community that make sense, available industrial land, some of the housing issues, that have been brought up earlier, it's a real challenge. But we've got to figure out how do we get more housing development, because even if we get the industrial development, we don't have the workforce to be able to handle some of these kinds of things. And so people have to have places where they're going to live at the same time. So workforce development, housing, available land for industrial development and residential development. These are the kind of the key things that we ought to be working on, I think, in the next few years. Jeff's already working on them.
That's a tough one, because without the housing, you won't get the company to come.
Yep.
But how do you get the housing before the company? I mean,
It's a chicken and egg question.
Yeah.
Yeah. You kind of have to do both. Is the short answer. It's a tough one, but we really do. And the community can't grow without additional housing. And somebody asked the question about, or Seth asked the question about downtown housing. And that's some of our thoughts too, is that we're probably not going to be able to fill all those buildings with businesses because there just isn't enough population to support the same kind of businesses downtown that there used to be. But maybe we can fill some of that with housing, and we're going to have to change the way we think about downtown and our zoning for sure, because that's an opportunity. Because if we don't fill those buildings with something, they're just going to sit there empty, and then eventually you're going to have another Masonic building on your hands, and that's not something you want either. So these are tough challenges, but what I think is really great about what's happening right now is that we're not just going to bury our head in the sand and say, well, this is just too hard, we're not going to do anything about it. We're going to work to try to put together plans and try to make things happen. So Jeff's doing a good job of that. That's all I have.
Well, I don't know if you can comment on this or if you can send us out emails, but it was brought to my attention by somebody on the council that wanted to know what, how it was going with that vicious dog letter.
The last one?
Yeah.
This is the one that bit Officer Hanson. I don't know what the latest is on that, and Jason's left, and so I can get you an answer by email, but I'm going to have to ask him that question.
Anybody else have anything for Eric? All right. We can move on to new business.
We just have an item that Shane's going to talk about on the snow plowing policy. Really, there's kind of two things that we added to this that we have had discussions about in the past. One is downtown sidewalks, and the second one is related to Orchard Lane, and so I'll let Shane talk about it.
I don't think you want me to read this to you, so hopefully everybody had a chance to read everything. I'm guessing everything came in color.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay. So everything in red. So part 10 on sidewalks. It's through one exception there for downtown Orchard Lane sidewalks. That is sidewalks that we maintain. The other change is 15 and 16 were added. And basically, Orchard Lane is going to be declared as a priority 3, as outlined in section 6. So, priority 3, what that's saying is it falls in the same category as like residential streets. It's not a high priority, such as emergency routes. So, it won't be something we'll get to right away, but we will get to it in the route. So, snow and ice removal efforts will commence when one of the triggering factors in part 2 of the policy occurs, and salt may be applied when ice accumulations exceed 1 inch. During regular business hours, the Public Works Department may clear snow and ice from the sidewalks as touch-up one time after a snow or ice event to prevent further accumulation buildup if weather patterns may cause further deterioration of surface conditions. So that's for Orchard Lane. What that means is we're not going to be sitting and waiting for snowflake to land on it and brushing it off every time. There's times where, there's gonna end up being snow on there, but, we can get to it, when the triggering factors come into play. It's similar with downtown sidewalk snow removal. I did include a map on the end of this, but due to the lack of snow storage in Central Business District, as you all know, there's some sidewalks that will be cleared by the city of Tracy and fee charged for services rendered. That's based on the total hours for the season times the hourly rate adopted by the annual fee schedule for the equipment used divided by the total frontage cleared for each property proportionally. Sidewalk snow removal will commence when one or more of the triggering factors set out in section 2 of the policy, similar to the Orchard Lane. And then there again, we'll go out one time after a snow event for touch-ups. And then the last page, I have included the sidewalks for downtown that we are currently going to clear. So, you have any questions on that?
So this will take care of the issue with the slush,
Yep.
with the streets being narrower and people not being able to park close to the sidewalk because of the slush. I just remember that being one of the concerns.
Slush on the sidewalk or in the roadway?
No, like in the roadway for people to be able to get out of their cars.
And get up on the sidewalk.
I think the snow was being pushed into the street after the street had been cleared.
Yeah, if it's by the residents, yeah. During the day, it's almost impossible. We can't get down. A grader and a car can't meet. It's too narrow. So, that's difficult, but, there's some cases where there's going to be a little build up there, but, as long as it doesn't freeze and we can get to it during evening hours or early morning, then we can get that cleaned up. But that's more of a maintenance thing.
I want to add one thing, because I think this is a good question. We cannot guarantee that there will not be slush in those streets. And we cannot guarantee that the Orchard Lane streets will be clear of snow all of the time. We will do the best that we can. What this is saying is that we're going to go and we're going to make one pass on these things, and then we're going to come back through and do a touch-up another time, as needed. But if snow accumulates over the weekend or in off hours and some storekeeper comes in and pushes it in the street, we don't have control over that. So I don't want to give you the impression that this means that there will never be slush ever.
I guess I'm not asking for never, ever.
I know, I'm just trying to set realistic expectations.
Well, and that's where the realistic expectations are going to differ. And so I just want to be prepared, because there is no place for the snow owners to put their snow other than on the street when they're clearing their sidewalk.
And we're gonna move it, and kind of and that's why we move it downtown. But what Shane's point is that you're there during the day, and let's say we clear the sidewalk, and then you get some additional accumulation, then some cars pull up, and the shopkeeper says, well, that's an old-fashioned word, whatever the people are that are business owners downtown are pushing it, into the street, which I know they do. We can't go in there in the middle of the day because those cars are going to be parked in that particular location. So then there ends up being, a certain amount of slush there. So we're going to do the best we can within the context of the policy. And we would ask that people not just throw it in the street like that.
But they have no place else to put it.
I get that. We also, have our limitations. We all have our limitations. So the reason why we do these policies is because we want to set kind of the standard for the level of service that we're going to provide here. The level of service does not mean that streets and sidewalks are going to be completely free, problem-free. They're not. This is saying that we're gonna make one pass, and then we can come back through with an additional touch-up, but that doesn't guarantee that there won't ever be slush in a street.
So the process, if we get snow in the evening, at what point in time do you begin doing those sidewalks
2
and
inches.
the street?
2 inches or more. It's in,
I mean, like during the day?
during the
5
day,
o'clock, 6
we don't
o'clock,
like
what-
to move during the day, because one, we're stopping all the time waiting for people, because,
No, that's what I'm
so
asking is. do
we move
you-
at night.
Okay, so if there's snow, you guys are out there before the, the shops open,
Yep.
and you pushed it into the street from the sidewalks, and then you've done the streets, if it snows the rest of the day, you can't do anything about that.
No, and like, and in that case, we'd go back and do
Do
another
the
touch-up
Yeah.
later. Your wind always changes here, so you get drifts, you get
Yeah.
weird things that happen. Those are tougher, but, at least in this case, we have some sort of a standard that we can go by and you can refer back to. Usually, for us, we like to start at 2 in the morning. Usually we can get through our route, unless, but it has to be done snowing by 2 in the morning. So usually when people lose their minds, it's 6 a.m. it starts snowing,
Yeah.
an inch an hour, and they have snow on the ground at 8 o'clock and they don't know what to do with it. Well, it's not done snowing yet.
Yeah.
So we're not going to be out until it's done snowing, or it's starting to accumulate to the point where, it's hazard for traffic. Then we'll start doing, the higher priority routes. In those cases, that's when more complaints come in, but, because they wake up in the morning and it's not gone. But most cases, it's generally gone or almost gone when they get up in the morning. So, because we don't even like to be downtown during the day, because it's counterproductive for us. It takes, about 60-70% longer waiting. So, there's going to be cases where it's, just not a way around it. But
One more thing I think bears saying, and I know you know this, but just for the public's benefit, these sidewalks downtown, Orchard Lane, things like that, they're priority 3, which means they're priority 1s and 2s that we do first. Those are things like ambulance routes, school routes, stuff like that, because those are more, making sure that those things are accessible is a higher priority than some of these other things. And we don't have unlimited resources that we can just go out there and do it all the time. And so, we're having to prioritize those things. And so sometimes I think people, yes, it is inconvenient sometimes for people under certain circumstances, but a lot of times Shane's, guys are out doing other things that are a higher priority because these are health, life, and safety issues. And so it's not that we're doing this randomly or don't care. It's actually, specifically prioritized in a certain way to prioritize, life, health, and safety issues first, and then, when we have time and the resources, then we get to these kind of lower priority things too.
I think when a lot of the complaints started coming in was more in the spring, when it's that questionable.
Yeah.
And you might get a dusting here and an inch here. Well, after a couple days, it accumulates that, yes, it wasn't a 2-inch snowfall, but the stuff on the sidewalks was like, I think that's where
we had
some of the complaints
We
came
had that
in.
one incident where it was so warm at that particular time that the streets basically we got like maybe an inch and a half or maybe up to 2 in some places, and the streets were basically clear because it melted, but it stuck on the sidewalks. And so our policy at that time said, well, we won't do sidewalks under that scenario. This policy says we can do sidewalks under that scenario. So that addresses that specific situation that you described. Yes.
It's not going to be perfect. Nothing ever is going to be perfect when it comes to snow removal and snowfall. I mean, you can't.
And every storm's
count
different.
on the
So
weather.
it's hard to write one standard.
Yes,
Yeah.
but I think this has addressed some of the issues that were brought to us.
And
New ones will come up.
it can always be
Do this
amended.
again next October.
Yep.
Yeah.
Shane, residential sidewalks, what recourse will we take if sidewalks are not cleared in a timely manner?
So there is a complaint process. It's fairly lengthy, and I think it's chapter 4 of city code. Complainant, I think right now the complaint would go to the city administrator. City administrator writes a letter, and then after I think I go out and look at it, then after 24 hours, after they get notified, if they haven't done anything, then we can move the snow there, and then we'd bill that back to them. So, and that has to be for each parcel, so.
Sounds to me like it'd be all melted by the time you guys get all this done.
Probably so, and
In
that's
some
never
cases.
happened since I've been here in 3 winters. So,
That it's melted?
I think I've
that I've
read,
ever gotten a complaint
Oh,
like this.
You're
I
kidding.
think,
Yeah,
I think there was one.
feels that way sometimes though.
I think there's one that I wrote as interim, but those are the only 2 that I know of since I've been director, so.
So the people of Tracy, the citizens of Tracy are doing a pretty good job, you're saying?
Or they're not complaining.
Or no one's complaining.
That's that.
Because I know there's sidewalks in the wintertime that
Oh,
are not
sure.
cleaned off, so.
Yep.
For sure. Yep.
The ordinance was changed decades ago to remove the liability from the city for unshoveled sidewalks to the property owner. But no, there's many, many people that don't clear their sidewalks.
And still with the downtown sidewalks, just like residential, you know, it's up to them to put salt down and, you know, make sure the surfaces are clear, so, you know, it's not, we don't have full maintenance of snow and ice on them, just mainly for the triggered events. We don't have anything that really spreads salt on sidewalks or anything like that, so, and nobody likes sand in their building, so. What we spread isn't, what they're gonna want on the sidewalks, so.
Is it resolution 91 or 92? Because the paper says 91 and then the computer it's 92, just so we make the right.
Because we removed a resolution, it would be 91.
Thanks, Shane.
So I'd make the motion to approve resolution 2022-91, amending the snow removal policy.
I'll second that.
First and second, any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Van Dyke.
Aye.
Robson.
Aye.
Schmidt. Teigs.
Aye.
Jones.
Aye.
Whitman.
Yes.
Mayor Corman.
Aye.
Mayor, that's all we have tonight.
Anybody like to make this motion?
I'll second it.
First and second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Did we set a record? We can't tell.